Hi LEGO fans! I hope you have your signed Hogsmeade permission form, as today we're heading to the most severely haunted building in Britain. I'm back with more classic LEGO Harry Potter, and today we're going to be rebuilding and reviewing set number 4756, Shrieking Shack from LEGO Harry Potter. Shrieking Shack was released in 2004 and is themed on Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Originally selling for $50 or 40 Great British pounds, this has become quite collectible. Today, mint in box, it's worth around $370, or in used condition like this, around $165. The 444-piece part count includes 4 hard-to-find minifigures. We've got a HP 041 Harry Potter, which is exclusive to this set, a HP 045 Sirius Black, which appeared in 2 sets from the 2004 wave, an exclusive HP 048 Peter Pettigrew, aka Wormtail, and the star of the show is the HP 062 Professor Remus Lupin. His party trick is to transform into some kind of weird human werewolf mutant hybrid. We'll take a closer look at the minifigures later in the video, and also compare them to their characters in the movie. I'll also be sharing every Peter Pettigrew minifigure, and every Sirius Black minifigure. The set also includes 3 buildings from the village of Hogsmeade. Of course, we have the Shrieking Shack, which is falsely reported to be the most severely haunted building in Britain. We also have Honeydukes, the Wizarding Sweet Shop, which was connected to Hogwarts via a secret tunnel. And finally, we have a very unusual transformation chamber, which I'll be demonstrating later. I've been trying to track down a Shrieking Shack for a long time. I finally found somebody selling their Harry Potter collection on eBay, and I was able to snag this and also the Chamber of Secrets set. Like anything I buy on eBay, I like to do a full teardown to make sure everything's there. Doing a teardown also gives me a great excuse to include a speed build in the video. Sit back and enjoy the music, and I'll be back in 45 seconds. And here is the completed 4756 Shrieking Shack from LEGO Harry Potter. Build time today was 43 minutes, and the finished article is a very distinctive LEGO set. We're going to start out by taking a look around the Shrieking Shack and discovering all of the secrets that lie within. Next we'll check out Honeydukes Sweet Shop, which is full of Bertie Bott's every flavoured beans, fizzing Whizbees, Droobl's best blowing gum, and more magically marvellous confections. Next we'll have fun with Animagi as we check out the transformation chamber. And finally we'll check out the minifigures, including a rather valuable Remus Lupin. This is the infamous Shrieking Shack, a forbidding property on the outskirts of Hogsmeade. It's said to be the most haunted building in Britain, but that is in fact not true. It was in fact a safe place where Remus Lupin could be contained during his monthly transformations into a werewolf. The shack itself is fairly tall and measures just under 10 inches. Although there are steps leading up to the front door, there is no way into the Shrieking Shack from the outside. We'll find the entrance in just a moment. The front door and most of the windows are boarded up using these really nice printed tiles. One of the best things about this set is that there are no stickers. The Hogsmeade scenes from the Prisoner of Azkaban all show the village covered in snow. In keeping with that, the Shrieking Shack has a liberal dusting of the white stuff. Even the porch above the front door is covered in snow. Around the side here you'll notice one of the older style skeleton heads. This operates an action feature which we'll take a look at in a moment. Referring to the movie, there is actually a skull outside the Shrieking Shack. The upper floor has 3 more windows, and this shack is so rickety even the boards are starting to fall off. The building is quite narrow and we have windows on 2 levels. In reality I think the Shrieking Shack had at least 3 levels. On the other side of the building we have a large chimney stack servicing the fireplaces on each floor. The use of different colours of brick and the textured elements give this a really rustic feel. The chimney narrows towards the top and is finished off with 2 chimney pots. The tall and narrow roof is simply constructed from a 6x12 base plate. The original white plate was a little discoloured, so I did swap this out. You do have to be a little bit careful when buying older sets like this second hand. The white bricks will discolour if it's left in sunlight. Similarly, brown LEGO bricks from this era can be very brittle. At the base of the Shrieking Shack we have a crawl space occupied by a radioactive spider. I don't know why they used trans orange for a spider, but clearly somebody made an interesting decision. Peering underneath the house you can actually see that something is going on within the crawl space. Mounted underneath the house there is actually a turntable which enables it to spin through 360 degrees. The Shrieking Shack is known to move and shake and give the appearance that it's haunted. In reality this was done by magic designed to keep people away. The actual screams which gave the Shrieking Shack its name came from Remus Lupin. So if there was no way to enter the Shrieking Shack from the outside, how on earth did Harry, Ron, Hermione, Sirius, Remus, Peter and Snape get in there? Let's check out the interior. Located in the bowels of the Shrieking Shack, we actually have a secret tunnel. Judging by the presence of this amphibious friend, I'm guessing the tunnel got quite damp. At least we have a nice cosy fire to warm up after the journey. Behind the fireplace we have a secret door, although I don't recall this being a thing in the movie. It does have the advantage of casting some more light into the interior. Here we find a couple of printed tiles which were found quite commonly in the early Harry Potter sets. The upstairs room in the Shrieking Shack is where Ron, Harry and Hermione make 3 important discoveries. The Grim is actually notorious mass murderer Sirius Black, Professor Lupin is in fact a werewolf even though Hermione already knew this, and the pet rat that's been sleeping with young Ronald Weasley for the past 12 years is actually a middle-aged man. I really would like to recreate the scene from the Shrieking Shack, but we are missing 3 important characters. We don't have a Hermione, Ron seems to have run away, and Professor Snape is conspicuously absent. We do however have the bed that Snape is flung onto when Harry attacks him. Expelliarmus! It was a dusty 4-poster bed in the movie, but it's been simplified for the LEGO set. Just in case anybody got thirsty, it looks like Sirius ordered room service. We've got a trans neon orange flask complete with a bottle green goblet. Remember the skull from earlier? Let's see what that was all about. You can actually pull the skull away from the house. That could be bad news if you're taking a nap on the bed. That's gotta hurt. The only other thing we find up here is a fireplace complete with trans orange flame element. It's nice enough, just not terribly exciting. Not unlike the real Shrieking Shack, the interior of the LEGO build is quite sparse and quite dated. It seems clear that LEGO ran out of ideas and just threw some random stuff in there. The exterior features are definitely more impressive. I think the designers did a good job of capturing the look and feel of the Shrieking Shack. Now of course the Shrieking Shack stands outside the village of Hogsmeade. Hogsmeade is a magical place that looks like the front of a Christmas card. But getting to Hogsmeade was a bit of a problem for one Harry Potter. After the incident where Harry blew up Aunt Marge, let's just say that Uncle Vernon wasn't in the mood for signing off his permission slip. Luckily for Harry, big boys Fred and George decide his needs are greater than theirs and hand on the Marauders Map. As well as showing the location of everyone within Hogwarts Castle, it also pinpoints 7 passageways which allow you to get out. One of those just happens to lead to Honeydukes. Honeydukes is a sweet shop established in 1641 and located on the High Street of Hogsmeade. It's owned by Ambrosius Flume and his wife, and it's filled with shelves upon shelves of the most succulent looking sweets imaginable. Some of those delicious confections can be found on display in the windows of Honeydukes. These elements are really nice printed parts and can only be found in this and quality Quidditch supplies. They're quite rare, so replacing one of these parts on Bricklink will cost you about $6. The 2 signs above the window are also printed parts. I believe these may be the famous acid pops which are strong enough to burn a hole in your tongue. The large doorway is useful for getting in and out, but less useful for keeping out the cold. I suppose an actual door would have been a good addition. Providing illumination on either side of the non-existent door we have a couple of lanterns. But let's be honest, all the good stuff is inside. A little imagination is required, but you'll see that the roof is covered in snow and we also have snow piled up outside. Okay, well, a lot of imagination is required. Inside we have a bunch of sweet treats, or at least as many as 1990s LEGO would allow. Tooth flossing string mints are out and have been replaced with green and red apples. They're nice enough elements, but not what you would expect in Honeydukes. Maybe we can find exploding bonbons and fizzing Whizbees in these brightly coloured containers. In the window we have exotic flavoured lollipops, and a selection of containers that might contain Bertie Bott's every flavour beans, Dumbledore's favourite crystallised pineapple, and the acquired taste of pepper imps. For the more health conscious sweet tooth we have bunches of cherries, and by the cash register you'll find a chocolate bar, although it seems somebody's already taken a bite out of this one. As Harry didn't have permission to leave the castle, he had to use the secret tunnels. The tunnel leading to Honeydukes could be found in the statue of the One-Eyed Witch. You just needed to tap on the witch's hump and say the incantation Descendium. The tunnel would lead you to the basement of Honeydukes' sweet shop. In keeping with that detail, we actually have a trapdoor in the LEGO model. Being situated on the main sales floor, this is in all honesty not very discreet. Honeydukes may not have the biggest or most elaborate interior, but I love the simplicity and charm of just using LEGO elements. If this were remade in 2020, it would be covered in about 1 million stickers. Ain't nobody got time for that. After the relative normality of the haunted house and the wizarding sweet shop, we have this curious novelty. It's moulded to look like the Shrieking Shack, but clearly this is not. It's definitely LEGO because it says so on the studs and on the big grey button on top. This has a very pleasing action. To make it look a little bit more like a building, we have some white roofing tiles and a black owl. These are fairly rare in the black colour and go for a couple of dollars a piece. But what is this big lump of plastic? It looks like a Happy Meal toy without the creepy clown and all the disappointment. This, my friends, is a transformation chamber for Animagi, and it works like this. Et voila! The Grim! It also works with the weird rat guy. Looks like the rat didn't survive the transformation. It actually works like a cheap magic trick. We have 2 compartments within the box, and as we push the button on the top, these spin around. This part has a thin edge and it helps to scoop up either the minifigure or the animal. Sirius Black and Peter Pettigrew are both an Animagus. That means they can turn into an animal form on demand. Sirius Black's animal form is of course a dog, hence his name Padfoot. The Grim is actually a very common LEGO element, but it only appears in 4 sets in this dark bluish grey colour. The Grim is an omen of death, which is why everybody was terrified of it. Harry found the Grim in his tea leaves and Professor Trelawney freaked out. Peter Pettigrew's animal form was Ron's pet rat Scabbers. 12 years was a great age for a rat, which usually has a lifespan of 1 to 2 years. The transformation chamber is definitely one of the more unusual things I've seen inside a LEGO set. I do question whether this was necessary, but it was certainly an interesting thing to take a look at. So we've been shocked and shaken by the Shrieking Shack, had a severely sweet sugar rush inside the heavenly Honeydukes, and learned all about Animagi and the crazy stuff that LEGO used to make in the 1990s. Now let's check out the multitude of magnificently magical minifigures. Harry Potter, Remus Lupin, Peter Pettigrew, and Sirius Black. This is the HP041 Harry Potter, which is exclusive to this set. He's the least valuable minifigure at about $11. This shows him wearing a grey jacket over a red t-shirt. It does not match the costume Harry was wearing in the Shrieking Shack. During his encounter with Sirius Black, he was wearing a blue t-shirt with blue tracksuit top. This actually seems to be what Harry was wearing on the Hogwarts Express. In fact, the Harry Potter figures from the 2004 Hogwarts Express and motorised version both have this torso. LEGO rarely printed the back of these earlier minifigures. The facial expression is exactly what you would expect from Harry Potter. We have those trademark round glasses and the lightning-shaped scar. If the facial expression looks familiar, then you'd be right. 2004 was the first year that LEGO used flesh skin on licensed minifigures. As you can see, they just recycled the facial print and the hair from the earlier minifigure. The hair is a pretty good match for Harry Potter, but it was used on loads and loads of minifigures. It's a good minifigure, and the attention to detail in the costume isn't bad for the mid-90s. It's just a shame they didn't recreate what Harry was actually wearing in the Shrieking Shack. Next we have the HB062 Professor Remus John Lupin, Order of Merlin First Class. He's technically but not quite an exclusive minifigure. Even so, if you got one of these complete with the wolf head, he's worth about $38. The dark green costume is based what Lupin wore on the Hogwarts Express. Within the Shrieking Shack, he was actually wearing a grey suit. Lupin's appearance and dress is described in the book as being shabby. The suit is quite torn, but that may have come from the werewolf transformations. When he was just a child, Lupin was bitten by Fenrir Greyback, which afflicted him with lycanthropy. As well as the green suit, Lupin also wears a grey travelling cloak. This equally fits with what he was wearing on the Hogwarts Express. The facial expression is pretty good and shows Lupin in need of a shave. He also has facial scars from that childhood encounter with the werewolf. The red wavy hair is a pretty good choice for the character. The reason this minifigure isn't totally exclusive is that we got a version of it with the 2004 Hogwarts Express. The Shrieking Shack Remus Lupin is worth so much more because of this thing. You can remove Lupin's hair and replace it with a werewolf head. Replacing one of these is going to cost you about $13. Again, this is a pretty decent Remus Lupin minifigure. It's just a shame that LEGO didn't recreate the costume from the Shrieking Shack. LEGO's excuses for costume malfunctions end with this character. The HP 048 Peter Pettigrew is an exclusive and resells for about $18. One thing that's immediately apparent about this minifigure is that LEGO didn't know what Peter Pettigrew looked like. To be fair to LEGO, they may have been working off pre-production materials. This version of the half-man, half-rat Animagus shows Peter Pettigrew wearing grey pants. Underneath the grey suit jacket, he wears a reddish-brown shirt and a white vest. The facial print is, shall we say, interesting. It looks nothing like the Wormtail we see in the movie, played by the fantastic Timothy Spall. This version shows Wormtail with the dodgy ginger moustache, and some very unusual printing around the top of the head. Presumably this is to represent the balding Wormtail. To date, LEGO has actually made 3 different Wormtail minifigures with various degrees of success. Wormtail also appeared in the 4766 Graveyard Duel set from 2005. The torso print was recycled, but he acquired a new equally hideous facial print and a hair transplant. In keeping with other minifigs from this era, neither were printed around the back. This version is based on the Graveyard Resurrection scene from Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. As such, you'll see that Wormtail's hand has been willingly given and replaced with a new magical hand. The same applies to this, the HP 196 Peter Pettigrew from 2019. This time we do get the pinstripe suit and it's beautifully printed. I love the continuity from the torso print down onto the leg print. It really is a very well thought through minifigure and puts the others to shame. To top things off, we have a fantastic facial expression complete with those rat-like teeth. The alternate expression looks slightly more friendly, if you can describe it in any way friendly. Remus, Sirius, my old friends. Although Wormtail doesn't seem to be the sharpest tool in the box, he must have been actually quite smart. He attained the Order of Merlin First Class, which equals Lupin's achievements. Although he was eventually sorted into Gryffindor, Peter Pettigrew was in fact a hat stall. This is what happens when the sorting hat has to ponder for more than 5 minutes. He was good friends with Sirius, James and Remus, and together they created the Marauders Map. Finally, for the minifigures, we have the HP 045 Sirius Black, also known as Padfoot or Snuffles. Unlike the rest of the Black family, who were Slytherins, Sirius was sorted into Gryffindor. Of all the minifigures in the set, this is definitely the one that best portrays the on-screen character. Sirius, who just escaped from Azkaban, is wearing a very distressed prison uniform. Like all of these minifigures, we have no printing on the legs, but we do have some really nice printing on the torso. We have the striped prison uniform complete with tears. The facial expression and the hair are pretty good. He doesn't have quite the same maniacal expression and wavy hair, but overall it's a pretty good likeness. As I alluded earlier, this is not the only Sirius Black minifigure. He got a reboot in 2019 for set number 75945 Expecto Patronum. This time we do get the wavy hair, but the beard seems a little bit too luxurious. The printing of the prison uniform gets quite an upgrade. You can also see the tattoos on Padfoot's chest. More printing around the back shows how distressed the prison uniform was. If you compare this minifigure to the movie, you'll see the costume is much more accurate. The main facial expression shows a very kind and gentle Sirius who became a beloved godfather to Harry Potter. The alternate expression is great and shows Sirius with a maniacal grin. This version of Sirius Black from 2004 appears in 2 sets. He also appears in set number 4753, Sirius Black's Escape. He's slightly more common than Peter Pettigrew and resells for about $16. Although we don't have a complete set of minifigures from the Shrieking Shack, the ones we do have are very nice. So that was set number 4756, Shrieking Shack from LEGO Harry Potter. The Shrieking Shack is a really nice build and does do justice to the movie. Okay, so the interior may be a little bit crap, but the exterior does make up for that. Honeydukes was a nice little added bonus, although I would like to see a bigger scale version of this. I'm still hoping they're going to recreate Hogsmeade on the scale they did for the recent Diagon Alley. The transformation chamber for me was just an interesting oddity. The 4 minifigures definitely add a lot of value to the set. Collectively they're worth about $83, which is about half of the value of the set. Above all, I had great fun exploring the Shrieking Shack, and I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did making it. If you did, a thumbs up is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more LEGO Harry Potter goodness. Thanks a million for checking out today's review, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next build video.